How did you get to New York City?
Oh, okay, cool. I got to New York City by being carried here in my mom's belly. I was born in New York.
You were, okay.
Yeah. Born in Queens. And then I feel like, I was raised here and then moved to Jersey for like elementary school. And then to Florida for elementary school and middle school in Jersey, Florida for high school, and then moved up to Boston for college. Then I came back here basically right after college. So I'm an East Coast guy. Yeah, up and down.
Did you always know New York would be the eventual destination despite being in Boston and Florida?
I think probably a deep part of myself did feel that.
Yeah.
Because I think like right after college, Boston, I was like, oh, Boston rules. This is so great. But then I visited New York a couple times again, and I hadn't been back in so long.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot like how good it feels. And I literally moved, one of the first places I moved back to was like, not the exact apartment building, but like not the exact apartment, but same apartment building that I was like raised in.
Really?
And yeah, I got to move back there and I was like, wow, this feels crazy. And I got to like re-explore the old neighborhood and see all like the playgrounds and be like, well, everything's so much smaller than I remember. Like visiting my like elementary school, and I was like, oh, this like the fence around the elementary school looked like so gigantic, and now I'm like I can almost reach over. Yeah, so that felt so cool.
What were the aspects of New York that you've always appreciated or liked, or maybe intuitively knew, like, I'm going to come back here for these reasons?
Yeah, I think it's just like everything is at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Like there are so many opportunities. If you want to do something, you can find it in New York, or at the very worst, you can start it in New York. Like if there's a hobby or I don't know, even a cuisine, and you're just like, oh, I wish I could do that. It's like, it's here.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love it here. There's shows all the time. Like even I have friends who've either moved to LA and come back, or just visited. And it's like, yeah, LA obviously is the other big city in America where we talk about like, oh, this is the city of opportunities. But it's like, oh, in New York, you can jump on a train and walk to the place that you want to visit. And then you can like drink and have fun and then like hit up 3 different things in one night. Whereas LA, you have to drive there. You have to make big plans. And apparently a lot of people who visit LA from New York are just like, oh yeah, our friends, it's so much harder to meet up.
Yeah.
People don't hang out there. And people will like flake out on you. Your friends will flake out on you in LA because it's like such a big deal to have to, drive somewhere, find parking, meet up, and then know like, great, we're doing this one thing, and then I have to drive back home.
Yeah.
And out here, it's like, oh, I remember just like, in my 20s being able to just be like, great, I'm going to go out, and then like meeting a friend there, and then they drag you to something else.
Yeah.
And then there you get dragged to something else. And then you realize, oh, I'm at like a diner at 3 a.m, having the best night of my life.
Yeah.
And that's what New York feels like. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
How did you get into comedy? What's the story?
I feel like there's so many different things. But I guess maybe like if I had to boil it down, I learned to read because my cousin had all the Calvin and Hobbes books.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And I would look through it and read that. And I guess that's where I started. I was like, I loved that. That felt so cool. And it was like a story about a young kid with a powerful imagination. And it was so funny and it was so smart. That started me someplace. And then I was watching like Seinfeld and stand-up sets with my dad. With both my parents, but then like stand it with my dad particularly. And I was like, oh, cool. This like always made me feel more grown up because I would watch this thing with my dad and be able to laugh together. And then if I didn't get a joke because it was like a sex joke or like a job joke, I'd be like, what does that mean, Dad? And then, he'd either tell me or he wouldn't, but it was just something I could connect with. And I always felt like I liked connecting with older people.
Yeah.
And then, there was improv in school when I was in like a gifted program and they offered improv classes after
in
school.
high school or college?
No, it was actually in middle school.
In middle school. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, through that, like I was watching Whose Line Is It Anyway at that time. So I was like, oh, cool. I get to do this now. And then in high school, it was like theater programs. They would do like an improv class, like maybe once a month. And like, that was the best day. And then in college, my whole network of friends was from my improv group that claimed like, oh, Amy Poehler was in this group for like a second. And then through that, I was like, I learned about UCB. So I came to New York for that. Yeah, it's like a whole journey, but I guess I would blame Calvin and Hobbes first.
That was the first domino to fall.
Yeah. That was the first time I've ever like dissected that and be like, oh, it all kind of started maybe there.
The stand-up you were watching with your dad, I don't know if you remember any of the details, but who did you watch? Who did you admire and love?
Wow. Okay. The first stand-up set that I can specifically point out, I can't even remember this guy's name, but I remember he played a side character in Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Okay.
He was like Jim Carrey's friend in The Mask, and he had a fun stand-up set that I was like, I like this. And then through that, I think we started watching more that was like on HBO or something like that. With like, and I remember watching a ton of Comedy Central's Premium Blend, which was just like they would put up like 4 or 5 different stand-up sets in like 1.5 hour. And it was awesome. So I started getting like CDs for, Dane Cook, George Lopez, Todd Barry, just all these freaks. Yeah, that was really fun.
The middle school improv opportunity. I've never heard of that. A middle school offering improv to gifted students.
Yeah.
What happened? How did that come to be? Was that like a big part of the school's history?
No.
In an attempt to sharpen the intellect? Was that the idea, or?
Yeah, I think that the program is called like E squared or E cubed. I don't know what it stood for, but it was like, I think they would offer like different things after school. Like you would do puzzles or have like a chess workshop, and then they would do like an improv workshop where they would just like run different short form games of like questions only or like sit, stand, lean. I'm sure the teacher just watched Whose Line and was like, all right, we're going to do this. And it was great. I wish I remember that teacher's name, but hey, if you remember having me in your after school program, thank you so much on setting me on this path. Yeah.
Did you get a sense right away this was something, I don't know, that resonated with you, that you really enjoyed to do? Tell me about that if you remember any of that.
Yeah, it was definitely a thing that I loved. I think like even as a little kid, I loved being a performer.
Yeah.
I loved attention. I think being like, we said this before the podcast started, like, oh, I was basically an only child because my younger brother's 12 years younger than me. So I was like, I had the only child energy for so long. And I was the youngest, of all my cousins for a bit, and for some reason that made me the favorite. I was the youngest, and my dad is the youngest son. And I don't know why, but like, yeah, my grandparents loved me and spoiled the hell out of me because of that. So I think just like that made me love attention. And then I guess not to toot my own horn, I must have been a cute kid because like my parents would bring me to work and they ran like a bagel factory and like / deli in New York. And so I would sometimes be like, yeah, at the counter with my parents, and like strangers would come in and like just compliment me or just like look at, joke with me. I remember some random guy came in and like did magic tricks for me, and I was like, what is happening? and like, I just loved attention. So I think I would love like performing. And I think because of that, doing improv in middle school and like going into theater in high school felt so good. And I was normally very shy outside of that. But this is one place where I like didn't feel shy and it felt so powerful. And I think that's pretty common probably with every comedian / artist out there. It's like, oh, we love attention, but also we're very shy outside of that space. Yeah.
The route out of high school, I don't know your trajectory or where you went to school, but did you know you wanted to pursue the arts? Was that clear coming out of high school when you were 17, 18 years old?
No. I think when I went to college, I was like, I'm going to either go into business. I remember specifically thinking like investment manager, I think was what my mom was like, you should do this. You should do a job where you wear a suit and you get lots of money. And I was like, that makes sense. But then also in college, I was like, oh, I like psychology. part of it in a dumb way was because I loved Batman. It's like all the bad guys would be fixed if they went to therapy. So I thought I wanted to be a therapist. And I think weirdly in college, as I was like pursuing it, I was like interning at a research, doing research, and I was about to go into like maybe going into, maybe interning outside of the college research area into like actual like maybe hospitals and stuff. I had a priest because I went to a Catholic, college. I wasn't even religious, but I was just like working with this priest because he ran like a diversity program, and I was like, cool, I like this, and I like talking to people, and he was like, do not do this, do not go into therapy because it will destroy you. And only now after the fact I'm like, I'm very thankful he said that, but also I'm like, I think he was in a bad place. Yeah. And I think through that, and because I loved performing, and I started doing like my friends' films, because a lot of my friends were in the film department, and they would ask me to be like an actor in their films, and I was getting compliments, not just from them, but from like their teachers and their classmates. I was like, oh, this is maybe a real thing. And I started realizing like, oh, acting's a job that people do. For so long, I was like, it's something you have to be born into, which only now I'm like, oh, you do have to be born into this. It's the only way to make it like feasible. It's a lot of like, oh, you have to know the right people and like start really young and get that network of people on your side and know what you're doing. When you like don't have all that stuff behind you, it is so much more work to learn it. Yeah. But yeah, I started realizing, oh, it's something I should start pursuing, and I can like go into school and learn this stuff. Yeah. Did
that switch your focus or your major where you moved into the arts or acting? What happened?
I graduated with my psychology major, psychology, creative writing, double major. But after I graduated was when I started being like, oh, maybe this is the thing I want to take into account and I want to focus on. Yeah. So I went into like a film internship right out of college in Boston. I was like PAing for this production company. And that's also when I like finally had the conversation with my parents of like, hey, this is actually something I want to get into. And we were talking before of just like, my parents, being Asian, you don't expect parents to like be supportive of the arts, but my parents were surprisingly very supportive, and they were like, great, you should do that. But if you're going to do it, take it seriously, look into schools, tell us which school you're going to go into. Like we would, we want to make sure you're doing this right. Don't
fuck around.
Don't fuck around, which is like very good. They were right. And I do think like, I came to New York, lived on my cousin's couch for a couple months, not a couple months. I think like maybe 2 months. And then, but then through his friends, I found an apartment, and I got, I found like this acting program because I found a job on Craigslist where I was an AD, an assistant director, which I should not have done because I didn't know what the fuck that meant, but they were obviously very desperate and they hired me. And it was like, we filmed a feature upstate for like 2 weeks, lived at like this cabin and filmed a horror movie. Whoa. And I learned so much. And then through the acting, they were like great friends. And I really love that they gave me the advice. They were like, oh yeah, we went to these acting schools. They went to NYU, but they like NYU sends their acting students to, basically they outsource the acting program. They're like, great, you can go to Stella Adler, you can go to William Esper, you can go to like a couple other programs. And through that, I learned about the acting programs I should look into. And then I went to a 2-year program at a William Esper. While I was also doing UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, learning improv, and that was my training.
Right. So you were kind of going in 2 different directions simultaneously, where you were getting training in the improv world more professionally and seriously, and in the acting world. Yeah,
I came to New York for initially for improv. I was like, that was my first thing. So I was doing improv classes while I was on my cousin's couch, and then I realized, oh yeah, this is not enough of a thing. Like you want more of that background, because I realized like, oh yeah, a lot of people go to like studied acting in undergrad. They went to like, high school programs that were just focused on acting. So I wanted that background. Yeah. So I learned it was like very much a theater oriented program. But I think it gave me a lot of discipline. They're like, great, you should be living, breathing, eating, shitting, dreaming about like the arts. And I was like, oh yeah, that's really, that was so new to me at the time, since obviously I was coming from a comedy background. It's like, oh, it feels, and especially improv, which no shade against improv, but I think a lot of people will go into it because it feels easier. You literally don't have to prepare anything. And you get all the joy of like being on stage and getting the laughs without having to like crush your head against the wall with either writing or with like preparing scene work and everything like that. So it was a good balance to like improv, but then also have this discipline as well.
At that time, did you have a pretty clear sense of where you wanted to go? What all this training was going to be for?
No, I think, and this is always my case, I think my eyes are way bigger than my stomach, and I'll be like, I want to do it all.
Yeah.
I want to write. I want to draw. I want to act. I want to do all the different things. And I think, if you have the resources and the time, I think it's not bad to get like kind of a wider approach to what you want to do, so you can experience all of it, and then also appreciate everybody on set. Because I was like, I want to work every job on a set.
Yeah.
So I'm, so I tried a little bit of that, but I do think, once you get past that stage, you learn to like focus on what you do want to do. So you know what? Actually, it is good to do the wide approach if you can, because that helps you figure out like, what do I not want to do? And then especially as a comedian, you get all these opportunities eventually. I shouldn't say this isn't like right off the bat, but like once you get like a manager and all this stuff, they'll throw everything at you. They'll be like, hey, do you want to do late night? Do you want to, write, want to do stand up? Do you want to do all these other things? And I'll try all these things and be like, cool. I actually don't want to focus on this stuff. I just want to focus on this. And it allows you to like not spread yourself so thin, and burn out. Because I think you'll do a lot of stuff being like, all these people want me to do this. And it's like, don't worry about that. Don't do that. You want to focus on what's going to keep you healthy and passionate.
Yeah. And energized.
Yeah. Because also as you become more of an adult, you're like, you can't just throw yourself at the wall and grind yourself 24/7, 7 days a week. I think that's like the downside of it being an artist, is like we don't have traditional weekends where you can just like fuck off.
Yeah.
It is like, you have an open schedule that is yours, but it is also like you have to have the discipline of like making yourself do the work all the time. What am I trying to say? Oh yeah. You like initially I'm like trying to work all the time. I'm like, all my spare hours should be about writing, should be about practicing, should be about like, even reading plays and getting and just like doing homework all the time. But eventually you have to be like, oh no, your brain needs so much fucking rest.
Yeah.
You can do, what is it? I think like Ursula Le Guin's writing schedule she talks about is just like she would wake up at 5, like eat breakfast, just like do chores, just like literally like think in bed, and she would write for like 4 hours a day. And then afterwards she'd be like, after 5 o'clock, you can't get anything fucking done. So I'm just going to like fuck around for the rest of the day. It's like Ursula Le Guin would write for 4 hours a day. And that's huge. Yeah. So it's recognizing like, you can only do so much. You can't, you have to give yourself rest. I feel like I'm talking in circles right now, but
well, the given that it sounds like we're offered many different lanes in which to inject your energy and time. And to your point, like you can't be that diffused. Like you need to focus. Like what did you determine for yourself were the lanes? And obviously this can be dynamic in a lifetime, but at this phase of your life, like what have you decided are those appropriate lanes for you?
Yeah. I love voiceover.
Okay.
That was like a passion because I, raised in cartoons and stuff like that. I love that stuff. So that was something I was able to like start pursuing. I was able to talk to my reps and be like, hey, this is something I want to do. And, I'm usually really nervous about talking to my reps, which is stupid. That's the whole part of their job, and they want you to talk to them. But I was like, this is something I really want to do, and I'm pushing for that more and more. So like, it's voiceover, and I like being on camera, just like acting, and I want to be in more like dramatic stuff as well, not just comedy. So I've pushed for that too. I think that those are the big things. The
representation that you have, your people.
Yes.
How did that come to be, and who are they?
Yeah. A shout out to my manager Candy Kreinbrink and my agency Stewart Talent. Specifically, my reps Kevin and Phil. They're and Jason, I should say. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But it was like complicated process. Anyone who's listening to this, who's like a newer actor who comes to New York and is really excited, I encourage that, but also be very careful when you come to New York, because there's obviously a lot of predators who will, in all aspects, like acting programs and acting teachers and coaches and reps particularly. So like I had an initial rep who reached out to me on like Backstage, which is a website you go to find acting jobs and different things like that. And he reached out to me, and I was like so young and didn't know the field and didn't know anyone else who was experienced in this. So I was like, cool. And then I remember getting a contract from him later that I like showed my dad, and he was like, do not sign this. This looks so crazy. But weirdly, through that guy, he pushed me to take a workshop, an acting workshop, which was, I was not a fan of, but at the end of the workshop, they introduced me to, they like had a panel where you perform for a bunch of other reps. And through that, I got a more legit manager or like a agency. And I signed with them, and I left the old guy. And then through UCB, I got onto a house team, and one of my teammates' friends was Candy, my current manager. And after a show, she reached out to my friend, was like, "Hey, can I meet Donald?" And then through her, I got introduced to Stewart Talent. So skip the first part, but just like this second half was like what landed me in my current situation. I will say I think that's really rare. I feel like very few reps will go to improv shows in particular. I've heard they want to make sure that like you can act with prepared content, prepared scripts and everything like that. Improv shows are very flash in the pan, I think, for representation, where they're just like, oh, you can do one show might be really good, but another show might be bad. So it's a hard measurement of your skills. I think they want improvisers for commercials, but for everything else, it's like, oh, we would love to know that you can act, but also it'd be great if you could write. So, yeah.
I think you said right now it's voiceover, it's dramatic acting, and then you also have this improv work. Yeah. What, in an average week, percentage-wise, like how does that tend to split in terms of your workload? Is it in thirds, or how would you describe that?
Thirds. I do a lot of comedy and performance at around the city, but mostly at UCB, and that's like a lot of nights of the week. It's either doing performances or rehearsing. I feel like acting jobs are very seasonal, and so there's going to be always like, maybe once every couple months there's like a bigger acting job that I'll book, but like at least auditions and stuff, it's like maybe anywhere between like 0 to like 4 or 5 a week. So it kind of comes in waves. So it's really hard to divide it up in terms of like fractions.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's always shifting and changing as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always shifting.
Had you ever, I know we talked earlier about how you and your dad used to watch stand-up together. Was that field ever of interest to you? Have you dabbled in that world?
In college, I did a little stand-up. I had like, they did like a college stand-up competition. I don't know if that's still around. It's called like the Rooftop Comedy something. So I remember doing that, and I was like, the first round, I think I did surprisingly well. That made me feel like really good about myself, and I think was bad because it made me feel like, oh, it's easy. I can show up unprepared, which I feel like every comedian has, like, that's their start.
Yeah.
The first thing is like, oh, I just decided to show up one day and like did really well, and then I thought I could just keep doing it like that. But it's definitely not the case. It's definitely more of a grind. And I think I also thought like, oh, I need to have like brand new material every time I perform. It's like, no. Professional stand-ups will do their material for like years, and will like sharpen it and hone it and get really good at that stuff. So I did it for a little bit, but I think it just scared me because it feels like so much lonelier when you start out. I think a lot of us have this competitive spirit, so we'll show up and be like, I need to be better than everybody else, but you can't do that. I think in stand-up, it's like, oh, you need to find your friends. You need to find your friends that you will show up to like open mics with together, and you'll like help each other punch up jokes and do that. And I think early on I just could not do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't find that community and I couldn't find that space, but I wish.
Yeah.
I wish I could do stand up.
Before we recorded, we were talking about the crew at UCB and the work, the collaborative work, speaking of community, with some of the people there. And I believe the word you used was, or the two words you used was comedic geniuses.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about that in your experience working with the comedians that you've come across at that venue and how that has helped everyone, including yourself, evolve as a comedian, as an improv person in general. I'd love to hear whatever comes to mind with that. I would love to hear about your experience with that.
Yeah, I think definitely I've evolved because initially you feel like, oh, everyone's competition.
Yeah.
And also like being an Asian comedian, when I first started out, it was like really rare to see another Asian person in the room. And I remember initially it was like, oh, there'd be like one or two other people. And as soon as you saw them, you'd be like, I need to be better than this person. Cause it was also a time where like, if you had one Asian person on a team, you could not have a second person. So you had to be the best of the team. And it was a toxic mindset that was probably developed from like racism in the field in terms of just like, oh, they didn't allow it. So we almost made it. We programmed ourselves in that way too. Yeah. But eventually, there was a show called Asian AF that started in LA and they brought it to New York, and I was able to join that in like 2017 maybe. And it was like, oh, first time being in a room with like, first of all, a bunch of other Asian comedians, but then also an Asian audience. And we were able to talk about things in like brand new ways and make so much more subtle jokes about our culture, about like our feelings on like microaggressions, but also just like food and family. And that felt so supportive and so cool. And it's still going. And now I'm one of the producers of the show in New York. And it's so great to like meet so many new people doing that. Yeah. And so like you learn to see people not as your enemies, but as collaborators. Even when you're going into like auditions together, it's like, oh, I'm not trying to beat you. We're all trying to be the best at this job together. Yeah. And so we'll help each other out. And like now when I show up to audition, in-person auditions and see friends in there, it's like, oh, it's not like awkward. It's like, oh, great. Hey, dude, we're all just doing this together. And if you book it, that's fucking awesome. If I book it, that's going to be awesome. But we got to be happy for each other. Literally yesterday, I went to see a movie at Lincoln Center. Sorry, Baby. A24. The writer, director, lead actor, Ava Victor. I remember doing shows at like the People's Improv Theater or just like around the scene and seeing them do stuff. And it's so fucking awesome to see them on the big screen, fucking knock it out of the park. It was so cool. So like, it is understanding when you see your friends up there, it means like you're in the right room. Yeah. It is not that they're doing better than you. It means that like, oh, we should be lifting each other up and helping each other out and celebrating each other's victories. And that's great. And like, being in the room with people like Haley and Nick and Eli and all these other folks who are so fucking funny. It's understanding like, oh, they're going to teach you as well. And you're teaching them and you're helping each other like punch up jokes. And it's awesome.
How does that happen? Is there like a weekly conversation between the teams? What is like the actual playbook that's used for that kind of collaboration where you're all sharpening your own swords?
Yeah, I mean, I got to meet them because we were all on a character house team at UCB. We all auditioned, we got put on this house team, and it just means we have like a monthly show. Yeah. But every week we would have like a group meeting where we were just presenting our work of just like, here's my character I want to do for this month's show. And then we all are able to like, first of all, laugh, and enjoy each other's work. And then we all like give each other notes of like, hey, I think this is really funny, or like, you should like punch this up or focus on this, or, maybe like you focus that energy on this one aspect of the character, or like even help each other out with like costumes and props and stuff. So like, that's so cool. And then it is great because it's just bringing us together and be like, cool, I also have this other project outside of this like house team that I'm working on. I would love to work with you on that. So like I've done other people's like web series or podcasts and like, even just like, oh, I have like a pilot script I'm working on, so we can like all appreciate like, oh, I know you're really good at this. And so I want to reach out to you on this. Or I know like Nick is a fucking, physical comedy
incredible. Savant.
Yes, savant. Yeah, savant. And so everybody will go to Nick about like, oh, I want this. I'm working on a physical character. Please, like, give me some approach to this. And he's always able to like give you these like little touches, little notes. I almost think of him as like a comedy, like physical therapist or something, or like a comedy Reiki therapist, because he's able to just like, you know, touch your elbow or just like readjust your neck, and then you're like, oh, I am fixed. This like makes so much more sense. He like is able to give like 2 or 3 like pointed notes, and he's so good. And like they're all like that. Haley and Eli, like yeah, there's so many geniuses. I would love to like sing my praises about all of them.
Yeah. Is it typically what I think you just said, where each comedian has its sort of superpower, like an X-Men?
Yeah.
Or like, what do you notice about the cast of characters that you really admire and respect that they have in common that make them so hilarious and great to work with?
Yeah, I think it's more the fact that everybody has their, like you said, like a superpower. There, it is like an X-Men where we all complement each other. Where like, great, we see some people who are like, physical comedy geniuses. Other people are like, they're acting. Like Haley's an incredible actor.
Yeah,
all her pieces are so funny because she can like commit to these like dramatic pieces where there's heart in there. Eli his characters are all like sad dads, it always feels like, and it's so funny. And then like on my team this year, like I have a teammate named Jules who's like a prop and costume wonderkind. Like they like will hear a concept and be like, I know how to design this costume.
Yeah.
And it's insane. And they'll go so far with it. And all their pieces are just like incredible. Just as soon as they walk on stage, the audience like takes a deep breath and or maybe they gasp, and it's like so awesome to see. So like everybody's got their specific skills. And I think that's what it is. It's like finding your brand maybe is so incredible.
Yeah.
And being able to dive deep into that. Yeah.
It's funny because it reminds me of sports in that, like, if you want a championship basketball team, you need somebody who can shoot threes, who can play defense, who can hit an elbow jumper. Like, there are all these different roles required to win.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've thought about that at all, but it seems similar to that in a lot of ways.
Yeah. When people talk about like, oh, how do you rehearse comedy? How do you rehearse improv specifically? And it's like, oh, it's a team sport. It is just like how they will just like run drills and like, you know, play off each other. They're able to be like, oh, there's no set script sometimes, you know, there's no set script for like improv, but it's like, oh, now when my teammate does this, I'll be ready to, you know, jump in and support them in however way they need. I think there's definitely very much a comparison in sports and comedy like that, where it's like, oh, you are ready. Even stand-up comedians, I'm sure it's like, oh yeah, even though you're the one person up there, you have someone you work with that almost acts as like your director, right, or your coach, I should say, and it's like, oh yeah, and then also you're ready to like turn on a dime and be ready for like hecklers maybe, or just like something else happening in the performance space that you're just like, oh, that's gonna fucking rule, but you're so primed for it. And it looks so effortless when you're up there. It's like any athlete.
And no one sees the work that was doing it.
No one sees the work. And it's like so much work that goes into it. You know, I bet there are stand-up comedians who like, they drill just their microphone work. They drill like their fucking, you know, where they stand on the stage for particular jokes.
Yeah.
It's a fucking well-oiled machine. They've engineered. Yeah, they're blocking. That's the word. My brain will always forget a particular word when I need it.
the trifecta of the comedy, the voice acting, the dramatic acting, do you view comedy as like, this is what I do for joy and fun, and the other two for money? Like, how do they bracket in your career?
I think they're all very fun. I guess comedy is definitely, more fun because I definitely don't make as much money from it. But it's like, yeah, that's the stuff that sustains me. But I do love voice acting as well, and dramatic acting when I can get it. It is so fun. Yeah, like I love even helping other friends with their auditions, or like reading a script and having to break it down. It's like a puzzle. It's so cool. So I think like you can't really do art unless you love it. And if you love it, you should be doing. I feel like in acting school, the first thing they told us was like, do not do this for money. If you can do anything else for money, stop acting and do that, because you will most likely not make money from acting. You will probably spend way too much money doing it, but you do it because you love it and because it sustains you. And I think that's definitely the case with every other hobby, right? It's like I got uncles who are like, yeah, fishing is their thing. They'll work however many hours a week just so they can get that one fishing trip. And it's like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I know you live in Manhattan, right? How are you able to survive? How have you been able to make it work just logistically and financially to be somebody in the arts in New York City? What is that required? What have you done to make that possible?
I mean, I'm very lucky because it's as soon as my parents, they've retired recently, they like bought an apartment in New York for them to be able to visit.
Nice.
And then they were like, you want to live there? And yeah. So I was like, that's what it did it. All right. So don't ever feel like, oh, people can do that in New York. Like, no, New York is so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
It requires so much of that, either like really hard work or support from others. And so I'm lucky. I think that's what it is. Otherwise it's like, yeah, I've been able to make connections in the industry where I can like, oh yeah, I'll do voiceover work, and I'm teaching at UCB, and that helps us do that. I'm coaching outside of that with improv. But it's mostly, yeah.
We were talking before we were recording, and you brought up a comment that I thought was really interesting about what can happen to people who are artistically driven that for whatever reason never have an outlet to express their own creativity.
Yeah.
And I just love to give you a forum to talk about wherever that came from and how you think about that phenomenon in general.
Yeah.
People.
I think like when people get creatively suppressed or constipated, I think is the word I like to use, is like they become monsters.
Yeah.
or like they become it eats us up inside and like starts eating our souls. And I think that's what it can lead to. And you brought it up like, oh yeah, depression.
Yeah.
Cause like, yeah, like I'm drawing this from you.
Yeah.
Like depression literally is like, means we're pushing things down, and that's what we're doing. And it's like, oh, when we have a part of ourselves that we don't let out, we don't get to like activate. I think we are, it's like a caged animal, right? We're caging a part of ourselves, and it starts getting super stressed out. So that's what leads to, all kinds of toxic behaviors. So, the famous one is Hitler was an artist.
Yeah.
Didn't get to practice that. And obviously other circumstances led to it, but I think that definitely didn't help. And so many comedian friends and talk about how Trump is like, he would be great in drag and as a drag queen. And he did get to explore that because of, a toxic father particularly, but also just probably like a toxic environment with, running a huge multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar family business. And we got to see him at his best when he was on The Apprentice, maybe, where like it was fun to watch him be kind of like bitchy and shitty, and we loved him for that, and it looked like he was thriving. I think we see that like that's why he wanted to put himself in like every movie and TV show. He was popping up everywhere. I think he loved that, and if he had been allowed to explore that further, we would be in a different world. And I think that's for everybody else too. We see so many people who regret not pursuing a dream of theirs, and not getting to explore something that they have inside themselves. And yeah, it's like another thing you brought up was like, the dark shadow?
The shadow.
Yeah, the shadow. And like I read one of my favorite authors when I was younger was Alan Moore. He wrote Watchmen, and he had this other book called Promethea, and it talked about like, there was like literally a segment where like someone starts like they get attacked by a bunch of demons from inside themselves, and then they, rather than fighting it, they learn to just like embrace those demons, and like they literally like start like devouring those demons.
It's like an invasion.
Yeah, it's an invasion, but it's like, it's like not trying to fight that thing, but like exploring that side of yourself and realizing maybe that dark shadow isn't for everything, but it's like, maybe it's like something we need to recontextualize and be like, maybe this isn't a bad part of myself. Maybe I need to like explore it. And sometimes it's like, digging deeper beyond the toxic aspect, and maybe there's something else under there that you're not allowed to explore. So I think a lot of the times it's like, it's there is a part of ourselves that wants to create, and we need to allow that part out of ourselves to create. And I think when people don't have that, that's what leads to like lashing out.
Yeah. That there's a term in Jungian psychology called individuation. And individuation is essentially becoming your unique individual, embracing the odd, bizarre combination of your genes and environment and your own weirdness, and expressing that, becoming that version of who you kind of have always been. I think it's this is a really interesting subject, because I think it can explain potentially a lot of the world. Yeah. And a lot of the behavior of people in this world. I've now sat for probably 50 interviews with artists in the last 3 months. I have really yet to meet one of them that has felt they may be broke, they may be struggling. None of them seem depressed to me, or none of them seem like they're lacking purpose in their life. Yeah. And is it your view that all people have that creative spark? Yeah. And it's just basically like shredded out of them. It's broken down over time. How do you think about creativity as it applies to people?
Yeah, I think everyone has the drive to create. I think it's like once we have all of our basic physical needs met, that's when we can start approaching it and create something. Like obviously a lot of people like want to have kids, and I think that's definitely a part of it too. No. Like that is weird to say, almost an art. It's an art to like raise a person.
Oh God,
right?
For
sure. And beyond that, it's like also we want to create, all kinds of other things, right? Like, I got an uncle who's like, he got into like jet skiing in Florida, and then like he would get really creative with like how he customized that jet ski. Yeah. Right. And like that, even part of that's like creativity. We're like creating all these different things. And I think everybody wants that. It's just we don't have either the time or the resources to do that. Yeah. Everyone's still struggling with meeting the basic needs first. Yeah. But once we get there, it's like, this always feels good. Yeah. But I think we also are scared. So many people have never been given that never been given the space, that permission. Yeah. We've been criticized. And I think like, right now people are, even the people who are, using AI to create stuff. It's like, they have that drive. They want to do that. Yeah. They are scared to be criticized. They want that beautiful finished product. But they don't want to go through the effort, to, fuck up and make mistakes and eventually like, upgrade their skills to get to that thing. Yeah. I've seen like, I don't even know if this is a real comment. It just feels like a thing I've seen online so many times. But like the person who's like, I love AI because it allows me to create this beautiful thing without all the, the bad part of, the effort, which is the bad stuff. And it's like, no, that's not that's the process. That's the whole thing. That's the thing. Like that should be the thing that we want. But it's like, I think because of social media, we've like seen all these people like celebrate the finished product. We don't get to see the hours and honestly, the years that go into making this thing. Like you said, it's we see like athletes in the arena do this beautiful thing. We don't see the years, the whole fucking lifetime they put into like perfecting just that reaction time. Yeah. And it's like, we want that. Like, I think so many people will, put that creative spirit into like a fandom, right? I think that's what we'll do. We'll latch onto another creative thing and be like, I love this thing. Be it being a sports fan or like loving an IP. And that allows a little bit of that creativity. People will go to like cosplay. They'll go to conventions and be able to explore this space. And I think that's definitely feeding into it. And I think that's great because it gives people permission to start creating a thing without maybe, and then joining an immediate community too, and feeling a little safer and accepted. But like, it's also recognizing we want that in other aspects of our lives too.
Yeah.
And giving yourself permission, like, cool, you don't have to join a larger community. You can also just create a thing for yourself. It doesn't need to be shown. It doesn't need to be, selfied or streamed online. You can just make a little thing and enjoy that thing. And that's good. But, we are scared because everything has been commodified, and there's like the grind mindset of like, oh, you need to like commodify your hobbies. You need to make money from that hobby. And it's like, no, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. As soon as it becomes a job, it's no longer fun.
Yeah.
So I think it's human that we want that. And then also, the individuation. Yeah. I think that's like a biological thing that has been instilled in like all life forms. Because if we were all the same, we would not create something new.
Yeah.
So I think there is always a mindset of like, I need to be a little different. And sometimes it's annoying, but I think in general, that's a good thing because we create something new from that. Like no matter how good an idea is, even like, no matter how agreed upon a scientific fact may be, there's always going to be like a small minority of people who are just like, I don't believe that. That's fake. That's made up. And that sucks overall. But I do think there's a reason behind that. We like need an aspect of ourselves that's always criticizing something and trying to change something. Yeah. For us to evolve. And I think there's like an interview with Christian Bale, where he talks about like, oh yeah, as artists, like we're always like copying something we love. That's what we're always doing. As artists, we beg, borrow, and steal. But then there also has to be an aspect where we criticize the stuff we love as well. Because if we didn't criticize the stuff we love, we would just create like an empty copy of it, a Xerox of it. Yeah. But if we keep being like, great, I love this, but I hated this, you're going to create something new. Yeah. And I think that's
the creative act.
That's the creative act. And I think like that's what we love from like fandom and cosplay, where like someone's like, great, I made a costume of this character, but I also added this in my fun twist on it. And that's so fun. And I hate that part of the communities that will like criticize that and be like, that's not 100% accurate. That's wrong. And it's like, well, they're creating something new. Yeah. And we should allow that. And if you don't like it, swipe. Yeah. Don't look at that. Yeah. I think it sucks when people start, first of all, saying like horrible things and bullying people for creating art that isn't harming other people. Yeah, because I think that also comes from the whole aspect like of this jealousy of like this person created something. Why didn't I do something like that? Yeah. So if instead of creating something, I'm going to tear it down. Yeah. Yeah.
It was your uncle who was doing the jet ski work? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Like to me, there's a high correlation between people who do creative work for its own sake and their sense of beauty. Yeah. Like a lot of creativity, I think, is people basically trying to shepherd beauty into the world in some way, in a lot of weird, different, unique ways. Yeah. And I'd never really thought about that before, that's often what people are doing when they're creating anything. Even children, like for people that have that calling, that like that's their creation in their life. You were saying earlier about how people very often in this world they've got to get their Maslow's hierarchy of needs met before they can even consider doing creative work, because so many people are struggling just to survive. But then there are also people who live in very affluent societies, and they may come from a family with a lot of money, and they're shamed into not doing the thing that they want to do because their father wants them to be just like they are. Yeah. Or their mother wants them to be a different way. And that need to be accepted is often more powerful than their own, like granting themselves the permission to go do their own thing. Yeah. I don't know how much you thought about that or if you agree with that, but that I think is also a phenomenon of people that end up resenting others that they see who are creators, who are living more in alignment with themselves, because they're not, and it's really harming them.
Yeah, I think, you know what? Yeah. Being accepted is definitely one of the Maslow's needs.
Yeah,
I think that might be on a lower rung than our self-expression. Yeah, we like want that relationship. We want that belonging before we can create. Because I do think creativity involves a little bit of like selfishness. Because like you said, we're introducing our standard of beauty to the world. So it's got to be like, oh, it's my personal tastes that I want to explore. And yeah, so I think that's true. And I do think like, yeah, so many people don't get that opportunity, even despite the resources they have at their disposal. And I think part of that too is like the fear of shame. The fear of shame. We don't want to feel that sometimes. And I think especially when you live in a circumstance that you feel that very rarely, I'm sure it feels more sharp when you have a lot of your needs met all the time. You never hear no, you never hear or feel criticism. Then like when you do finally feel it, it's going to feel like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I never want to feel that ever again.
Yeah.
So I think you see a lot of people also who like, never hear no. I think that's also the danger of being an artist, who like is well beloved. You get to create all these beautiful things. But then once you get so big that no one says no to you and no one edits you, you get to see these pieces that are so bloated and and like masturbatory and I will quote my friend Kurt, masturbation is fun. That's why we do it. But also it's like, oh, sometimes it also, what's even more fun than masturbation is sex with another person. And that's what I think like editing can also feel like sometimes, like, oh, you don't get to create a child by yourself. There's always someone else involved. And that's what like, I think an editor does too. Yeah. And I think that's why like I love working with like a room full of comedic geniuses. And I think, some of my favorite artists, their best work is when they were young and hungry. They were either working with some kind of limitation or they were given notes by somebody. And I do think like you can see that with, a lot of my favorite directors or favorite writers.
There's a freedom in having nothing to lose, I think, for a lot of people, and being on the come up. Yeah,
that's a great way to put it. I would, because but there's also like when someone has nothing to lose because they are so that like such a high pinnacle, and everyone's afraid to say no to them, or we're just like, oh, they're a genius, so obviously whatever they're saying is so smart and beautiful. I think that's like, oh, I don't know. It feels like you're floating at that point, and there's no sense of gravity. And so everything feels almost weightless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying, I think before we started recording, about how you did get support. Like your mom and dad were like, if you're going to do it, great, but go for it.
Yeah.
And do you feel like if they would not, and you were mentioning how like that is not that common in the Asian community to have parents that are encouraging their children to go into the arts, especially in New York.
Yeah.
Like if they wouldn't have, like if you would have had a more stereotypical group of parents that were shaming you, telling you to go into whatever field would make you money, going into, investment banking or whatever it is you were considering for a while. Do you think you would have at that age and even now had the fortitude to be like, I'm sorry, but I'm doing this?
I don't know. I think I'm a coward. So I think I would have still done the performed and done stuff, but I do think I would have probably eventually caved. I don't think I would have made it this far for sure. I mean, like, it is having that support, even just emotionally, was like invigorating. And I thank them I should thank them more, like verbally, literally. It's a huge deal. But I do respect everybody who can who does it despite that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's hard to say in my mind and heart how long I could have pursued this without that support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know there is that trope of like Asian children just going to engineering, going into medicine, going into law. Like, do you see parallels there? Like the Asian tiger mom who's just like, so hardcore about their kids going into one of 5 schools and going into one of 3 professional tracks. That is not encouraging creativity necessarily. It could in certain contexts with kids that wanted to go in that. Well, but in the Asian world specifically, like, do you feel like there's like a ton of potential latent artistic talent that is being suppressed because of those tendencies, or not?
I think there's tons of that in every,
that's probably true.
Any immigrant population too, because I think a lot of that stems from like, first of all, finances, right?
For sure.
Families, it's like we came here, we sacrificed a lot, or like we're still working so hard, and we were doing this all for you to be successful, so you don't have to work as hard as we did. And then also you can take care of us in our older years. So I think that's very common. I think they will do that out of love. And it's like maybe not a verbalized love, but that's how a lot of immigrant parents will show their love, is through that. Like you see so many other families where it's like, a father has never said, I love you, but they will always prepare you like cut fruit. They'll like make sure you're fed, and which is like beautiful in its way. It's, I think, like, I see that everywhere. And, even back in Asia, that's still a thing there too. Cause it's, I think everywhere, it's like there's fewer opportunities. So like just the concept of college in Asia is like, they go through these like crazy stressful tests just to get in. And people will go to so many after school programs just to get in. And even the arts in Asia is like, you see every like, K-pop group is like, they go through so much discipline to get there. So it's, I see that in everything. It's this drive to be the best version of it. But I do think, it leads to a lot of unhappiness because we're just not able to fully express ourselves.
Yeah. I think this is a great segue into the last thing I wanted to ask you, which is, and I like to ask as many guests as I can about this, about how you think about the word success. When you think about success as it applies to your life and career, especially your career, how do you think about that? If we talked in 2 or 3 years, like what would a successful life and career look like for you?
I think a successful life and career would be, this feels like it's like doing work that I'm proud of, not that it's like financially successful, but like a piece that I'll be able to watch and be like, this was awesome. I loved doing this. I feel like that's not fully defined either, but, cause like financial success is obviously great. Money's awesome. But it's also scary how much we will do for it, and how much we will sacrifice of ourselves for it. But like, I think, like you said, we're talking to so many artists who like are maybe dealing with poverty, and they're still like, they're not regretting that they're pursuing the arts. I think, doing stuff that I'm so, I think success would be doing stuff that like just keeps me passionate and interested. I want to define this more specifically. I think success would be doing work that constantly makes me want to do better. Because I think if I ever got to a place where I'm like, I don't need to be better than this, then I would feel like I'm creatively dead. Like as a shark, we're just staying still in the water and we're going to suffocate. They need that water going over their gills. We need to be constantly moving. Like that's what I feel like. And I want to keep doing. I think, maybe it's like it's not a high goal, but it's like I want to keep wanting more.
But that is an intrinsic goal, not an extrinsic goal. Like that's an internal metric. It sounds like.
I think, I think that's like the best form of success for me. Cause like if it's an external goal, then, I don't know, I'd be scared of what happens when I hit it. Yeah.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me.
This is great.
Yeah.